Hello, good morning, and welcome to Feedback Friday Art Edition. I am your host, Jacob Johnson. How is everybody doing? Just a heads up, today is going to be a short one. I'm feeling pretty under the weather, and no one else is available to kind of like run the stream right now, so I'm just going to do a quick little impromptu, how's it going? Um, so yeah, I don't think we're going to go too long. I had like flu-like symptoms last night, which was super fun. Feeling a lot better today, but still not super great. So, um, yeah. How is everybody? Yeah, Dave's still not back yet, so I'll still be doing the stream. Thank you. I hope I feel better too. It's getting better and better, so I'm not too worried. Um, but it's just not the funnest of things, and I don't have the energy to kind of do a long art stream. Um, so I think I'll just hang out for a little bit and then sign off. But Pokemon. Um, so I guess like we could chat about the game if you want. I know that Dave usually kind of does that, and he has a lot more specific questions he likes to ask, which is pretty cool. But I don't have that kind of like list. But if you guys have anything you'd like to discuss, that'd be interesting. Although there is, of course, a time delay, so makes it a bit challenging. Any Halloween info? Um, no date specifically, because I don't know exactly when we want to launch stuff. We have pretty much everything done, but we have to do a lot of kind of balancing, tweaking, stuff like that. But soonish, soonish. Uh, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna kind of involve being able to travel to anywhere in the kingdom, and being able to take on bosses and stuff like that's gonna have a benefit. Specifically, high point mice. At least that is how it should be working. Can't 100%. Like if we still have to do some balance tweaking, it's possible the mechanics could change, but um, the goal for this is if you can target some high point mice during the event for whatever reason, that'll have a pretty neat advantage. So maybe if you have some time, stockpile some supplies to go after some high point value mice in your favorite region, and that might be a little tip for you. Um, will we ever get another trap that drops brain bits? Probably not. I think that one was a little exclusive, but it's possible. You know, if people really like the brain charms, then I could see us bringing that back. But it'd be more of a kind of on-demand type situation. Would love a new base. No new base for this event, unless we decide to suddenly whip one out and invent some stats and such for it. That is not the plan. But if there is kind of demand for a new base, then that is something that we will add to the game. And I mean, we definitely will in the future, obviously. But yeah, if a lot of people want a new base, and if there's kind of a specific kind of logic behind the base, like do you want a base that has kind of a mechanic or something for a specific location, or do you want kind of the next power tier in base? And depending on what that would be, it would kind of dictate when and where we could bring it out. But obviously, if it's just kind of like, oh, it'd be really cool if there was a base that had this really interesting mechanic for this one area, that's a little easier to bring out for an event or something like that. Been waiting 8 years for your platinum base. That's a good point. That is a good point. probably have that at some point. That'd be nice. Yeah, so stockpile your cheese and charms and whatever you can for some high point boss mice. It's my advice for this event. I suppose I can go into a little bit of detail, I suppose. Um, so there are going to be stockpile regions. You can go there with your regular hunting bait and gather up some event cheese. And then I think I mentioned this vaguely, but at the stockpile events, you collect an item that you use to go after your favorite high point mice. So, for example, you could go after Fulmina or the Minotaur. Obviously, Minotaur is worth a good chunk of points, and the points themselves kind of help progress the game mechanic for the event. So, if you want to like kind of figure out a couple spots where you can kind of like hit them hard points wise, then that'll be kind of a nice advantage for you guys. It should be fun. We hope. Um, yeah, so it kind of like encourages you to kind of like use your hunting knowledge and skills to kind of like gain an advantage. And of course, if you don't have that stuff lined up, it's no big problem. You will still get to, gain the points based on every mouse you catch, right? And it all adds up. Yeah. So, just a little tip there to kind of prepare you guys, because obviously, when the event actually starts, you'll realize that that's kind of a mechanic there. And so it'd be nice to have that stuff ready to go, but if you don't already, it can be a little hard to kind of like go after some of the really high point values. And then of course it also depends on like what mouse has the high points, kind of like dictates what an end game reward or what the end reward would be. So obviously the kind of like the acolyte mouse, or sorry, not the eclipse mouse is worth like a lot, but like I don't even know if that one is included in the actual listing. But like focus on kind of what region you're interested in getting loot for. Essentially, is kind of the reward at the end for doing the things. Is whatever regions you're kind of like capturing the mice and utilizing their points, you get rewards based on that region in the end. So that whole high points thing is for the Halloween event. Just kind of giving you guys a little bit of a tip. Heads up. A cat on my camera, just laying on the cord, cleaning herself, so it's shifting around. Yeah. So let's see, what else? We were also curious to know what you guys thought of luck in MouseHunt, and if it would be useful to know if luck played more of a part, like you had some kind of indicator. Obviously, for the savvy hunters, you can definitely kind of experience when you manage to create a setup that has just a lot of luck and you're in the right area, you can just 100% catch. So obviously, we know that it has an effect, but would it be good for you guys to actually have more of a kind of indicator, like in the journal, for example, maybe something that let you know if luck made an item drop for you, or if it helped you catch a mouse, something like that? Would you be interested? I was almost kind of picturing it like a critical hit or something like that. Yeah, sorry guys. I'm feeling pretty under the weather today, so I'm just kind of taking it easy. I'm not gonna do like a really long stream, so I figured if I just answer a couple of questions and then kind of sign out, that might work. Plus, it's been a little while since you've had kind of a Q&A style since Dave's been gone. Yeah, so definitely more transparency on luck would be nice. Yeah, okay. Yes, this is Wash. Wash, come say hi. Come on up. Come on up. Hey, bud. This is Washburn. Hey, buddy. He probably wants to go outside again because he always wants to go outside. I think this is the first person that said no. They like that luck is a bit of a mystery factor. I don't think it would, if we did include something like that, it wouldn't kind of like create a formula that you could break it down with. It would be more like, hey, your luck paid off. And like you already feel the effects of it, but would it be better to just kind of like have a little more knowledge that like, yeah, actually the luck did do that instead of it being like, did it? I don't know. Maybe the mystery is good though. Don't take all the mystery out of the game. Even knowing the mystery, or even knowing the formula for how luck works, it is a mystery. It's okay to leave it. Okay, so it's a little bit of kind of both. You know, there's some people that would appreciate being able to see like specifically when it has kind of gone off and activated, I guess. And for other people, they just like to kind of have that be ambiguous. All right, interesting. Okay. The loot for Halloween is going to work differently. We're doing a different event than last year. Depending on how this goes this year, you know, and your responses to or feedback, um, it's possible we could go back to the previous event if that's what people liked, or we'll do something more like what we are doing this year. I think this year it's a lot of kind of like fun story stuff, and it should be interesting. Um, Gameplay wise, it's pretty unique and cool, so I'm looking forward to it. And it does encourage and reward players who are a little more savvy at the game, which is kind of neat. More loots, please. Any new event mice this year? Yes, we have. Do we just do a boss? I think we might have just done a boss because there are a lot of event mice that exist already. So we try not to overload the system with them. Um, but yeah, there will be a new event mouse. Every event we do, we try and add at least one mouse. Generally, just one mouse. Um, Thank you. Yes, I'm working on my grunge look right now. It's good. Last week I was a surfer guy, surfer dude. Next week I'll have like a nice tight ponytail and look all shaved and clean or something. Why not? Yeah, so I don't know about bringing any devices that extract brain bits, but if we do, that would be entirely because the player base would be looking for a new version of that. I'm not opposed to it. I think it's a fun thing to do, you know, like having traps that kind of collect hunting stuff for you as a side is a pretty neat mechanic. And it's a little bit of an extra reason to use something other than the absolute most powerful setup that you can, so could be fun. A dog. Why did I expect to see a cat rather than a dog? Because I have 3 cats. That's why. 3 cats and 1 dog. There's no man bun. I haven't done the man bun yet. I could, but I haven't. I don't think I will. Is there a cat? Oh yeah, there's a cat in the frame. That is Luna there. And then right under my monitor is Charlie, and then Pika is behind me on this chair right here. So yeah, just little sleeping cats everywhere. People wave to you, Alex. Alex just waved back. Do the cats bully wash? Not so much, actually. They just bully each other. They kind of get all scrappy when it's dinner time, which is the worst, because they'll like start to chase each other around, and like Luna, anytime she gets cornered, she'll like yell like a human, and it's very unsettling. But they'll like run across your keyboard when you're playing games or smash into your monitor. So they're pretty riley. Oh, what is the next Rift you're planning to release? I don't think we have anything hard set just yet, because we did a decent amount of Rift stuff. We're going to be focusing on like a really big content piece after the event season. We'll probably be ramping up to work on it over the next kind of month. Probably is when we're going to try and start on it. I think, at least art-wise, but it's going to be a pretty big one. So it's hard to kind of schedule out other locations after it. We have some ideas on where we would go with it. With Rift stuff, it's just kind of like a linear progression, really. Whatever kind of feels right to kind of like follow the original path. So it's not 100% following the path, but you know, it's kind of like what feels like a good next area. So we'll see where it goes. Tribal Isle Rift. Okay, so here's my thing about it. If we do a Tribal Isles Rift, I would love to just like nuke the original Tribal Isles and just like, if you are familiar with World of Warcraft, Cataclysm it, where essentially we see that there is some really horrible old gameplay that is frustrating and hurts players, essentially. We lose a lot of players at the Tribal Isles. And I feel like I've talked about this before with you guys, but I would love to just wipe it and do something way better. And if we were to do the Tribal Isles Rift, that's a good excuse to do that. Maybe the Rift kind of tore open something, like a Rift tore open and just completely devastated the island or changed it. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. I wouldn't necessarily dramatically change the gameplay, but I would certainly streamline it and make it much more digestible. I think obviously a HUD would go a long way, so it wouldn't even necessarily require us to like change even anything. But we could help it with a HUD. But yeah, I would like to maybe just tear some stuff out or like redefine things and just make it a little bit more just, it wouldn't take months to kind of struggle through it with wikis open every day kind of thing. So that's just how I feel about it. But yeah, if we were to do the Tribal Isles Rift, I would definitely make sure that the original got some love too. The Gauntlet will always be a horrible nightmare place for you guys to remember. Don't worry about it. But now, if you are familiar with hunting a lot of Fulminas, it's possible you guys actually can get I think it's tier 5, 6, 7, and even 8. So for those of you who aren't interested in kind of like just drudging it out, it is possible to get all of the mice using Fulmina's drop table. Obviously, that's not an ideal kind of. I guess neither are super ideal, but it is. If you hang it with Fulmina enough, it's possible you'll find a Tiri. Yeah. Trap effectiveness meter is still a mess. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. It isn't super clear, and can use some work. That's less my kind of discussion point. As an artist, I don't really have my hands in the code base at all, so I don't even know how that works. But I have noted that it's not the most helpful tool always. So it's better than nothing, but yeah, it could be better for sure. It would be nice to have that kind of a little less mess. Is there a new trap for newbie? There is not. Well, I suppose. Obviously, events are actually a really good time to get some pretty potent traps for new players. So Halloween is going to provide a, honestly, a very useful trap. Not immediately for newbies, but it'll come in handy when they get to areas that require a certain power type. But it'll be one of the easier ways to earn some pretty decent traps because events will kind of like try and make a trap that's not terrible, but not amazing, but like still we want it to be some high level players will be interested in using it once in a while or something. It's nice to collect, but it's also nice to be able to use your tools. So as a brand new player, being able to get one of these traps, it's definitely going to be pretty decent for them. So I would suggest that obviously Halloween, and then we're going to have like Great Winter Hunt and other events. Those are going to be amazing times for new players to pick up some pretty potent pieces. I don't think we're going to go back to old areas and add any traps unless people are like, hey, you know what, there's this gap that we would really appreciate having filled. Because I think right now it's pretty decent. I think there are probably a couple of gaps, but we haven't really had any specific complaints, I guess. So it's hard to just kind of state, oh, this is a problem here. We need a new trap here, because I mean it's been nearly 10 years and we haven't had a lot of kind of like requests, I suppose. So I guess it feels okay. Um, so yeah, but yeah, any players who are looking to upgrade, if they're pretty like bottom of the bar, events are the best time. Absolutely, yeah. So try and get that done, and as long as they kind of stick with it, they should be able to complete it. We do try and kind of aim that so that as long as players are active, we balance it so that they'll be able to complete it. So just make sure they're kind of hunting on the daily, and I'm sure they'll be fine, and have a pretty sweet trap because of it. Some interesting ideas for trap requests already for the event. There is a gap in tactical traps. Okay. From Slugswain's first move to Dimensional Chest. Interesting. Okay. 3,600 to 5,200. As a jump. Gap in law. Okay, you know what? Like, I would actually love there to be a formal kind of like forum post. So feel free to like put that together, and I would like to see the community kind of like go back and identify, because we actually have a little bit of a gap before we start some other content of like we're a little low on art cycles, so it would actually be pretty great to kind of like have some things we could toss together. Maybe when we're low, we can kind of grab one of these missing traps, put it together, and figure out how we can get it in the game. Because I actually like the idea of there being a little more stepping stones when it's needed. Because I like a little bit of a like the mechanic of kind of like you have a challenge, you get a tool to step up on that. Now that's easy, but then a new challenge comes. But if the step is like way too far, then there's like this huge kind of like frustration. So if we had a step here, and it's like it still feels like a challenge to get it, but it's much more attainable and feels good, and then there's still that challenge there to achieve, then it would just be a much nicer kind of experience overall. Um, Slack one is painful without Lucky Golden Shield. Okay. Yeah, no, like legit, like you guys should totally start a thread that discusses, hey, like, do you remember back when, like I really felt like this was a little too much. What if we added something here? What do you guys think? And like have a nice discussion, and I will definitely be keeping an eye out for that, and that'll be kind of pretty useful for just future if we want to try and kind of like pop back and toss a nice little tool for players to kind of like have a better experience. That's always good. Um, okay, yeah. So law is definitely kind of there's a lot less kind of variety, I suppose, in that class of weapons because it is a very new one, but I suppose it does have its jumps. Um, oh, yeah, Luna kind of woke up. She's just staring at the ground for some reason. Actually, I think she might have fallen asleep with her eyes open like that. She does that.
Oh, she's awake.
She's like very slowly moving. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So by all means, like, please put together a post with your thoughts, and I encourage everybody to kind of share your experiences and where you think that could be improved, because that is something that I would love to address. Hmm. Yeah, it's true. It is a lot. Yeah, 500 fools gold. Okay. Hmm. Train getting abandoned. Yeah, train is just not even really in existence, unless you were there the days it came out and, it was kind of like the freshest content. It's pretty difficult. Yeah. If we were to address that, we would have to revisit the mechanics completely because it was designed to be kind of like a social community event thing, but it just didn't quite hit the mark. And so it was a good learning experience. To be perfectly honest, I think we took a lot from it, but it would be probably a lot of work to kind of make that right. And we made sure that it wasn't kind of any requirement to do this. It's kind of a side quest thing. So kind of like the Gauntlet. Yeah, not a lot of people are huge fans. Not a lot of people are huge fans of the train, and because we know that it's not for everybody and it's not necessarily holding up anymore, it's never going to be a required thing that players have to go and do. Um, Obviously, if you go do it, you can get kind of stuff that you wouldn't normally, but yeah. So I don't know if we'll address that one. Obviously, if the player base is like, this is really important to us, we'd like you to do that, then we can expend resources, but we are limited. There's only um, a few of us developers, so we can't kind of like go after everything that isn't perfect as much as we would love to. Um, so bridging trap for Rift would be cool. Okay. Hmm. 80 meg golems? Whoa, that's crazy. That's amazing. Um, yeah, the slog of collecting 500 fool's gold. That's tough. Okay. Yeah, no, like let's get that discussion going where it's a little more permanent, and everyone can kind of get involved, because that would be a really good one to have. I think that would be very helpful. Wash is whining something fierce, so I'll probably wrap it up very soon, um, and then take him out, and then do some art stuff. But I'm gonna do that offline. I'm not really feeling too amazing, so I don't know how I would do streaming art today. And it's like interface stuff anyway, so it's not super exciting. Yeah, Peter, the one that has silvered the shelter. Goodness, that is very impressive. I didn't even know it got silvered. That's an interesting idea, Tim Martin. Actually, the original concept of charms I have in a sketchbook from like 7 years ago. And it was actually the Hunter Shield, and you upgraded it over time. So the idea was like it was your Hunter Shield on your trap, and it had like a little slot in it, and you'd like plug it in like materia from Final Fantasy. Um, and as you kind of ranked up or you upgraded your Hunter Shield or your Trinket Shield, it's charms now, obviously, um, but yeah, you would kind of like it become the coat of arms or a coat of arms where like it gets split down the middle and you could choose two different charms to put in it or trinkets, and it actually changed the design of it and stuff like that. And then like it would like keep growing and you'd get more and more facets to it. So you'd have like five that you could plug in at once. And they're very simple back then. It was just kind of like plus 50 power, plus one luck kind of thing. And you'd mix and match. But obviously we decided to go with a little more of a kind of cleaner, more focused. We could do a lot more kind of like potent, amazing charms that are just kind of like one thing. They kind of like, you know, um, instead of having like five little baby ones that add up to one cool one, just have like one really amazing one that does a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, like my sketchbook that has it is at the office. Otherwise, I would show you the page right now. But yeah, it's pretty fun. But yeah, it took a while before we actually kind of like adapted a system to it. I think originally it was going to go that way. It's just we kind of decided to just go with the one. We just like that more in the end, I think. But yeah, the charm route is a little better than the trinket. Trinket, okay, so imagine you're like hunting, and now you're not only managing your cheese and your trap and your charm, you're now managing five different trinkets all at the same time. You have to keep them maintained. Thanks, cats. Um, and like you're constantly kind of like resupplying them or having to like it just be a lot more than kind of like focusing on just like what one charm should I use right now. And it's just a better experience. Sure, the trinket thing sounds really cool, but it's just a lot more maintenance for the same thing, ultimately. So that was, I think, probably the main reason why we decided to keep it a little more simple. There's so many other things that kind of like add up into the gameplay experience. You have nowadays a lot of like HUD plays a role in what's going on. Your cheeses, your trap, your base, your the charm itself is more focused this way. Even your auras that you can earn, like you have a lot of things. So yeah, it's just better this way, in my opinion. Um, maybe there's a parallel universe where all the alternate MouseHunt decisions were made. I would love to go visit it and just see what it turns into. Um, no tribal isles. Imagine a world of trinkets and no tribal isles. It would be a different experience for sure. Yeah, it would be interesting to kind of like, it's the what if of life. Always interesting to kind of wonder, what if this? What if we made, you know, trinkets instead of charms, and like all kinds of different game rules and stuff. And the beauty of like Mouse Hunt is we actually get to be like, oh, what if this? And then we actually like completely alter how the mechanics work in an area, and like make it a totally unique experience and an experiment, and we learn from it. So it's fun. It's one of the games where like we challenge the system of the game a lot, and I don't think a lot of games get to do that. Like in a lot of games you have kind of like the different levels, and you have different monsters or different environments. Maybe there's an ice level, maybe there's like a monster that has to be taken down in a unique way, but for the most part it remains the same mechanics throughout. And in Medicine we actually get to alter that quite significantly a lot more than other games do, I think. So it's pretty nice as a game designer to be able to play with that and learn a lot. Well, thank you. Yeah, we'd like to just try and learn and always apply what we've learned, which honestly is why I think we are still around today. Is we are constantly trying to get stuff from feedback from you, um, just come up with new unique stuff. And like we could have just made every area the meadow, where it's just like keep catching mice until you can earn a new trap, and you drop a map piece and you go to the next area. Okay, bye. But like that's not as fun as like fighting through a labyrinth, or like anything. The rifts, they're pretty unique, stuff like that. And obviously, not all of it's the most fun, but we try and figure out what is and what isn't, and take those lessons with us. Will there be one day when we quit Mouse Hunt? Who knows? But I don't think so. I think we're going to keep it going as long as possible. Um, we all love the project, and I know that the player base loves the game too. And it's our goal to just make it something you always love, and I think the technology is probably one of the most inhibiting factors of it. Um, the platform. Thanks, Vince. The platform, it being on Facebook, sometimes platforms go away. Now, like, granted, they stick around forever, but like they kind of like die off in popularity, and it's harder to get users. But that said, for how old this game is, for what it is unheard of. The retention it has for the audience it does, it's like literally, I think there should be studies done about it, because it's a very unique experience. A lot of the players that have been around for like nearly a decade are here, and we keep trying to make it still awesome for you guys. And so yeah, I don't know. I don't know how long it'll last, but hopefully another 10 years, because I think it's great. It's an awesome project, and there's a lot of like shows and stuff that it's like they've been around for like 40 years. It's crazy. I would hope Mouse Hunt gets to be something like that, where we come out with new episodes, and I think maybe it would be nice for us to be able to kind of make it a little more accessible. Like, imagine you're watching Doctor Who and you love it, and you've been around forever watching it, right? You've seen it all, and you started when it started. Like you've watched it all, and it's a really good show. But like you want to get your friends into it, and they're like, yeah, okay, I'm super interested. Like, show me how to watch Doctor Who. And so you're like, okay, but you got to start at episode one, like season one, episode one, and then eventually you'll get to catch up to where I am, and we can chat about it and hang out, and it'll be great. And some people can do that, but not everybody. And so I think it would be good for the community, for the game. At some point, this is my own personal philosophy on this. It would be good to be able to kind of make end game content more accessible to new players. Like if there was a way, I would personally, I would make ranks not matter so much. If you could kind of like jump in and like crush your way through areas, if you can like maybe a friend could give you a pile of gold, and yeah, you miss out on a lot of the kind of hooks, but there's so many more hooks later on in the game where like if you could just jump in and be at you know Mesu Pichu or something like that day one, you would probably have a way better experience playing the game than if you had to start back in the meadow. Um, and like it'd still be fun. Let's say you did come in day one, Mesu Pichu, you could still be like, I have so much other stuff to go and do and visit, and like I want to go, earn some hydro traps here, and I want to like go try out this area and just kind of like bounce around and do whatever they want. Um, Ultimately, I don't think it's going to become that. I think there would be a better solution than just kind of like everyone can do anything. But I think it would be nice for the game to be able to have people come in fresh and be able to kind of hang out where you are in a way. So they're not too kind of like stuck in the tutorial playground where they're not allowed to come out and hang out at the bar with us. So it would not be an easy answer for that, but I do feel like that is something that would help in the long term of the game if we were really trying to get more people into the game. So that's just my opinion on it, though. Nothing we've really discussed as developers, but maybe I will. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like after a long-term hiatus, like yeah, people have lives they have to live and they can't keep up, um, and so that kind of sucks. Like a new patch comes out for a really awesome game, a lot of games will be like, hey, here's a boost to get up to where the new content starts. Go join your friends instead of being stuck back here. It's more fun. So, and ultimately, yeah, like you may not necessarily go back to the old content, but we would design the new content to be engaging enough that you get to hang out there with all the other high level players that have nothing else to do anyways, and they're there. So I don't know, but yeah, I think we wouldn't change it dramatically. Like you would still want to go back and get your power types that you don't have the best in class of or whatever, and like I don't know. That's just I think it's something that I would like to maybe discuss over the next year, and see if there's something we can do. And by all means, if you guys have any thoughts on this, if you think it's a terrible idea to allow kind of like new players to be able to experience kind of like more current gameplay, feel free to let me know. And if you think it's a great thing, like you have a friend that you would love to get into this, but like is just too daunting, or it's just not quite their cup of tea. But maybe this area they would get into it, but they can't get there. So something to let me know. And yeah, exactly. Um, Honestly though, like yeah, okay, so you were gone for 4 years. It took 6 months to catch up. That's impressive. But like 6 months is half a year. Like that's a lot to be able to catch up. And I know when like new people start, it can take like 2 years to get to the current game. And it's just like a lot can happen in 2 years. So it's just, I think it's too long, I guess. I think there should be even more compression, if anything. So yeah, yeah, yeah. I think one of the big hesitations that we've had for making sure there's those gates to kind of like requirements and stuff like that. It's an old system that we kind of started with, so it was easy to continue it. But also, I know that there is a vocal portion of the community that would be like, I had to put in all this work, I had to do all this stuff, and they just get it for free, and that sucks for me as a player. Like, I did all this stuff, and now it feels like it doesn't matter. And we don't want to give that feeling to anyone. You know, we don't want to like take away those accomplishments and ruin that. But at the same time, if it makes for a better experience for other players that wouldn't be able to get into it, and like lets them and love the game and enjoy it, and you know those people still did those things, they still got those accomplishments, does it matter as much? You know, like it's an interesting kind of like discussion to have. And you know, we do not want to take away people's kind of like, you know, like I think there would be people that would potentially quit if suddenly we made the game accessible all over the place, you know. So we'd have to do it right, and we wouldn't want to hurt those people that really truly love the game, and they put so much into it, and then it feels like we just kind of removed that. I wouldn't want it to feel that way, I suppose, but I would want more people to be able to access more. You know, you go away for 2 years and you come back. I want you to be able to kind of like get caught up pretty easily. So you maybe you don't have all the coolest traps. Like for example, one of the things I like to do in new areas is I like there to be kind of a relatively easy gameplay loop. So maybe it takes like a week to like do a run, right? Masu Picchu, you can do it in a week. You can do a run in a couple of days if you want to do a really short run. Basically, you get um, to Fulmina, and that's kind of a run, right? So one of the things I like to do with areas is have kind of like a quick and easy reward by doing a simple run, you know, like one run, and you get kind of like the map piece to move on, or you get like the base trap to kind of like say you've accomplished this area, but then having a higher tier reward that you could skip because you've done your run, you're completed, you can skip it, or you can stick around and earn this really awesome cool trap. Um, and so I like there being the above and beyond reward, so that if we made it where you can kind of like glide through content. Imagine if every area you just had to do one loop of it to move on to the next area. But obviously there's all the rewards for each of those areas to earn still. So it'd be maybe something like that, where you do have to kind of like experience what each of the areas has for you to move on, but you could do it quick, but you're not going to get all those traps that you need in the future if you're trying to do specific X, Y, Z. So you might want to go back and fully earn those or something like that, you know, maybe. Um, we actually had an idea. Okay, so I have a suggestion. How about a mentor-mentee system? New players can access the harder areas only if they are attached to a high-ranked player, and then obviously the high-ranked player would get some kind of reward for doing that for a low-ranked player. I like something like that. We actually had a little kind of like idea stub for something like that, but I think that would be really good. Another thing could be having a loyalty journal team. You know, every couple of years have like a unique journal theme that they've earned or something. Actually, I would love to have that for 10 years. That'd be nice. Because we do actually have like MouseHunt birthdays, where players like, you know, they know, hey, this is my birthday, my MouseHunt birthday. So it'd be cool to like actually have, you know, after 5 years you earn this. At Blizzard, I have a friend that works there. He just earned his 2-year mug. I love this system where the longer you work there, the more kind of like cool rewards you get. So he gets like a Stein, big fancy like beer mug with like a lid that kind of opens and closes. And then I believe at 5 years he'll earn a shield or a sword. And then at 10 years, shield or sword, depending on what one they already got. And then I think at 15 years, maybe it's like they get their name engraved on a plaque out in like the main courtyard or something like that. And then I think at 20 years, maybe it is, they get like a crown. But like something like that, like for the journal theme, or like something on the profile page. Who knows? But that's kind of neat. Like, so like everybody, like maybe the new system comes in where people can kind of like have easier access to the fun new content with their friends. Um, and like maybe someone who's only been around for 2 years is hunting in the same area as someone who's been around for 10 years, and the one who is there for 10 years has this cool thing that they have and that other person is not going to have for another 8 years. So it's kind of a neat way to do that, and it's just a cosmetic thing. Doesn't affect the gameplay, but is definitely something that honors them. So that's a great idea. I think that's something to kind of like write a little note for and put that in the kind of the idea bank. So I think that's nice. That is pretty nice. Yeah. All right. And I mean, ranks is something that does kind of attribute a little bit of that. It's not specifically you've been here for this many years, but it is you've hunted for a long time to be, Archduke or whatever. So it does definitely do that, and I think maybe I would want us to tone down the requirements of that a little bit. But yeah, yeah. Permanent additional luck with each rank. Oof, that's I don't know about that one. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? But yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of it being a little less gameplay mechanics based. Obviously, a reward like that is very nice. Um, so I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't know about that one. I think that would be it would change the balance of things, especially if we made it where different ranks could be in kind of like the same place. Yeah, and ultimately it would be a little unfair. It'd be essentially you'd have lucky golden shield when someone else wouldn't be allowed to have that, right? But I don't know. Jump from legendary to hero upon catching a shelter. Man, like, have any legendaries ever even caught the shelter is the question. I feel like the answer is probably very low amount have. Might as well though, right? Throw some skins in the king's shop, only available to veteran players. Again, like that's actually not a bad idea. It's a cosmetic thing, it's something that isn't going to change the way people play, but it is something to kind of like show off, and that's always cool. I like that stuff. Additional perks for a team that do many tournaments. Yeah, I mean, if you have like good ideas for different kind of perks for that, that's good. Mm-hmm. Rent a trap system. That'd be interesting. Maybe if it was only through the mentor mentee, that might be an interesting way to do it. Sounds difficult to do. Okay, well, Wash is like whining a lot and farting, so I think I better take him out before he has any more to say with his smelliness. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. Sorry I wasn't really like too art based, but yeah, I think it'll probably be me again next week. I'm not 100% sure. It might be Dave back by then, but I think it's me again. So either way, I'll see you guys next time. Sorry it's such a short one today. But yeah, hope you all have a awesome weekend. Happy hunting, everybody, and I'll see you next time. All right. Bye for now. Sorry if I didn't get to answer your questions. Feel free to post in the forum. I honestly want to see the discussion of like, hey, let's talk about where there's some gaps and traps. I would love to read that and really dig into it. And honestly, other ideas that have come up today, let's discuss them more. I thought there was some pretty interesting chat, and so I'd like to see a little bit more on that. So I am wearing a Hanzo shirt. I'm a Hanzo main. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, world. But yeah, so the golden bow. Um, more on Halloween soon. But yeah, sorry. I'll see you guys again real soon. I gotta take watching. Okay, well, have a awesome weekend. Happy hunting. Goodbye, everybody. See you next time.